So tell me about this one.
Okay, this is our CBM1, and basically it's a 4-string bass short scale. It's a 32 scale.
Okay.
And when we were deciding to build a bass, we work with a lot of guys who play guitar and bass. And it's really difficult going from a 25-inch scale length, somewhere in that range, to a 34 or longer. And so, I'm going, I play bass and I play guitar, so let's do a shorter scale so it's going to be a little more comfortable.
Right.
And so we decided we're going to do a semi-hollow. So that's where that one originated from. This one has kind of a mixture of a Tele and a Les Paul kind of thing. That's our CEM-4.
Got a big beat.
Yeah, the CEM stands for Classic Electric Model.
Right.
So so that's the 4th model that we actually designed.
And then this one.
And then this is the CEM-2.
Right.
And that one you can really kind of make into pretty much anything. You could do a Strat, you could do a Tele,
Right.
you could do 2 humbuckers. We've done it in pretty much every configuration you can do. And then the one here on the left, that's our CEM-1. That's actually the very first guitar that we finished.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
No way. That's the very first Hughes guitar.
Very first one. And what's cool about it is when we were designing it, we're trying to get rid of the block that you always felt on a Strat or Tele or Les Paul. We had so many guys that would come in going, hey, is there anything you can do? And so, we wanted to get so you could actually play the 22nd fret.
Sure, make it comfortable.
Just make it real easy.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of where that came from. But my first really good guitar was a Gibson Les Paul Deluxe.
Yep.
And that's where the mini humbuckers came from.
Right.
And it has a carved top, and it's got the angle like a Les Paul. So this is the CEM-3.
Right.
And it's when this one's complete, it typically weighs in that 6.6 to 6.8 pounds.
Nice.
So it's a really nice light guitar.
Perfect.
It's completely solid down the center. We remove wood here so we can get electronics in.
Right. And this is a blocked off right here?
Yeah, it's completely, if you can't see it very well, but right here, as it comes down, it actually flares back out like this.
Gotcha.
Then it tapers down like that. So this is all hollow on the sides, but it is solid right down the middle.
Love that color too.
And we, same thing on this, getting rid of that block. So,
right, yeah.
I mean, it's almost like feeling like you're playing an SG.
Right.
So you can get over the whole thing. We
so the woods, is it
this Honduran mahogany back,
mahogany?
one piece. And what we do is we actually hollow out the back of the guitar before we glue the top on.
Oh.
And so we hollow it out, and then before we glue the top on, we flip it over and we hollow it out. So you can see how this stays a consistent thickness.
So that's not a laminated top, it's
No, it's all solid.
It's all solid.
Everything's solid. So it's got a solid top, solid back. And then what we also do is we do a 5-piece neck. So we do mahogany, maple, and wingay.
Right. Makes it more stable.
Much more stable. And it's a set neck, so the neck is glued in. This is our most popular guitar.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, we do more of these than any of them. This particular one with a quilted top, we did the same thing with a quilted headstock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
And so where it looks like binding is actually the top.
That's great.
So we just exposed the beauty of the wood.
Yeah, wow. That's fantastic.
So this one will be done here probably within the next few weeks.
Right,
Get
cool.
this one out. So this is straight off of our CNC machine. So we actually design everything in SolidWorks software.
Wow.
And then we have to draw it in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And so we draw every component. And actually my son Will is the one who does all of that work.
Right.
He does all the design, all the milling. I understand the process, but the skill that I have is actually plugging the machine in.
Right, right.
So he can't do anything unless I do that.
Yeah.
But
so this is basically our CEM-4 model in SolidWorks. So we have this in an assembly here, so we can look at neck angles, fitment, pickups, pretty much the whole guitar, body cuts, neck pocket.
And so you can customize that any way you want, really.
Yeah, so I can like go here and open up just the body by itself,
right?
And look at the neck pocket, pretty much the whole thing, back cut. I can edit dimensions here.
Wow.
And then if I go back to the assembly, I can do the same with the neck, and we can look at all these.
And that's the one that's on the picture of the CEM what?
CEM-4.
CEM-4.
Yeah.
So can you do the same thing? What with the CEM-3?
Yep.
You can change things like that for that too.
Absolutely. So like this neck here, we can look at the different the sketch of the neck dimensions.
Right.
And we can change that. We can change it at the 1st fret, at the 12th fret, and this will actually build our shape out. So depending on whatever the customer wants, as far as, you know, if they're looking at like an R9 neck, custom Fender V neck, anything they want. You know, if they have a Ibanez or whatever that they're like, man, this neck feels really good, nice and slim. You know, we can take that dimension.
That's so awesome.
Put it in here, draw it, visualize it before we do any cutting on any wood. Make sure everything is going to be right where it needs to be.
Now, when somebody brings in a neck, how do you just measure it from top to bottom, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so we basically we'll look at the 1st fret, the 12th fret. We'll measure the back of the neck, and then we can take here. I'll show you this. We look at the actual dimensions. We'll draw that out,
right,
and then give the dimension, and then I can take a picture of that and trace it, or I can just, you know, get really close. We can get really accurate with it.
That's awesome.
And put it in the computer here. Build that out. We can make any changes that we want to. If we wanted like an asymmetrical neck, a little bit more beefy on the thumb side, the bass side there, or the treble side, and then build this out. We can look at how that flows into the body if we want to pull that in or make any changes there to the actual surface.
That is so killer.
We can change the fingerboard radius all the way down to inlay, fret slots. We can change it all. These are fixtures made out of phenolic vacuum fixtures for our CNC machine.
Right.
This one right here.
Yeah. Pretty heavy puppies.
Yeah, it's super solid.
Right.
So we draw all this in SolidWorks as well. So we'll go through, and after we get our body design, our neck design, we'll then break that up apart and then design a fixture to hold that while it's being milled. So we'll design the whole thing from all these cuts, where the vacuum channels are going to be holding the body down. Right. Locator pins, so we can take a raw wood, use a template, lay it on our block of mahogany, drill locator pins, locate it on here, vacuum it down, mill the back of the body, flip it over, mill the top of the body, and then we can do the same thing with our necks. And our necks is we go in a lot more detail as far as tolerances, fret slots, radiuses, how long there is between milling the top of the neck, the back of the neck.
Right, lots of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we start out with, you know, just everything's raw wood. We actually get our mahogany from a company out of Virginia, and as we get to hand pick it. So the wood is coming down the line. We pick off the wood, and what goes past us goes to Martin, Paul Reed Smith, Gibson, Fender. And it's
so you get the first pick?
You get the first pick.
That's amazing.
We actually have the option to pick and choose boards. Some of them are as wide as 18 to 20 inches wide, 3 1/4 inches thick, and some of them are as long as 16 feet long.
Wow.
And so we get to go through and hand pick each board, and we buy those that way.
Wow.
And then it actually comes from a kiln, so they're kiln dried. And then we have it here. Most of the bodies will, the body wood will sit here for a year, sometimes a year and a half or longer before we ever use it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And same way with tops.
Right.
So everything's acclimated before we get started.
It's good and stable.
Yeah.
All right, so this is our spray booth.
Right.
We spray 100% nitrocellulose lacquer. We don't do anything else. We'll do a little bit of tongue oil every once in a while on the neck.
Right.
But mainly nitrocellulose. I've got this is a CEM-4 in here, the same model that we were drawing. So this has gone through the machining process, the neck fitment, sanding, fretting, and we're building clear after we put some color on the top here.
Right.
And
That's pretty, man. That's not. I like that body style too.
yeah, me too.
And the cutaway is like seamless. It's almost like playing SG, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You can get to that last
You get
stroke
all the way up.
without anything in the way.
Sweet.
Yeah, this is a CEM-3. This is a custom one that we're going through. We've done and went through and sprayed a satin finish, ruby red top, natural back and sides,
Right.
ebony fingerboard and overlay. And I'm in the process now of hand rubbing the satin on this. So we spray a flat satin nitrocellulose, and then we'll go back through and hand rub that so it's really nice and smooth. Put a little bit of wax on the neck here.
Right.
So it's slick as
Let's
glass.
get a shot of that neck. That's beautiful wood. Nice.
So we draw it in 3D. So we glue all the different pieces up.
Right.
This one has the McCaster ebony fingerboard and headstock overlay.
So that's ebony?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. That's a
And,
cool looking piece of ebony.
yes,
With a little stripe kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and it's what's really cool is McCaster ebony has some movement to it. Where really, most everybody looks at it as very, very black, and
Right.
And so there are spots that you can find that are in ebony. So when we find those, we like to get that.
Yeah, because it adds some character, you know?
Yeah, and it's this one has a soft V to a C shape, and a lot of people have asked us, why do you guys do that? And it's like, well, when you're holding the guitar in your hand, having the thickness in the center really feels good because your palm is touching it. So you can add that. But as you move up the neck, it actually ends up being this portion of your hand that actually touches the neck as you're
Right.
going up. So that's the reason we go to a C. So that's better.
Oh,
for
so
your
at the
hand.
top, it's more of a C. It's more of a V down
So
at the
this
bottom.
is a C shape here and a V shape here.
That makes
and
sense.
it just graduates right into that. Let's see, anything else? We've got, this is our CEM-4, what it looks like in raw.
Right.
And a really cool one that we're doing right now is a CEM-4
Ooh, look at that.
that has a spalted maple top, and we bound the top.
Wow. That's pretty.
And pretty much everything that you see here is all custom ordered.
Right.
So people will come in and we pull out a build sheet for each different guitar.
Right.
We go through and they get to pick out everything that they would like, from everything from color to the neck shape, frets, all those kind of things.
Yeah, that's great. You can have your own custom whatever you want, you know?
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
We had a guy that came in not too long ago who brought an R9 in, and we measured the back of the neck and we matched that neck of what he had on his R9.
Wow, so you can do that. If somebody has their favorite neck, you just bring the guitar in, you measure it, and then you can have that neck on another guitar.
Exactly.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So this is kind of a cool thing here, where we've got one that's a curly maple necks on the back, but they're kind of like mirror image, kind of like for maple fingerboard with ebony dots and ebony fingerboard with maple dots.
Right, wow.
That looks kind of cool.
That's cool, yeah. Nice. This is where you cut the bodies and all that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah. This is where we do all the milling.
Right.
We have two CNC machines,
Wow.
and this is the first one we purchased, the Wool Lagoon.
This one here?
And well, this one you have to change all the bits and things by hand, which kind of it does a great job, but it just throws into the factor that the human mistake that could happen.
Right. Yeah.
Where then we saw that this was something we really wanted to get deeper into, so we ordered this one, custom ordered the Freedom Machine tool, and this one holds up to 8 bits, and it actually measures the length of the bit. We don't have to touch anything except turn it on. After all the programs are in, we have the fixtures that you put the wood on, and it will actually go from one bit to the next bit to the next bit, choosing, and we'll programs all of those things. It doesn't do it by itself, so he programs everything for it to do, and
that's awesome.
Pretty extensive.
What a team! What an awesome thing that father and son team like that. That's great.
It truly is a joy.
Yeah.
We have so much fun. We've got a couple other guitars that are in the works, that some new designs that we're working on, and it's great to sit down and discuss. What do we want it to look like? What do we want it to feel like? What kind of sound we want it to produce?
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That's great.
So this is a neck that's going to go on our CEM-4, and from the time that it came off the CNC machine, there's a lot of sharp edges, on the actual neck itself, and there's no frets and things like that. So we started pocketing our frets, our fret slots. So it looks like it's a bound fingerboard. You don't see any tang sticking out the side.
Right.
And so these are stainless steel frets, and it's also a compound radius fingerboard.
Right.
So it starts out at a 12-inch radius here, ends up about 14-inch radius here, and close to a 16-inch radius at the bridge. So it's a conical shape. So let's say it's like a 3-foot circle on the floor going to a sharp point. And so here that's where it would be like a 12-inch radius. It gets larger as it goes down the neck.
Right.
So with stainless steel frets, they're so hard. If you try to press them in and you don't match the radius of the fingerboard, it's going to either the center of the finger, in the center of the fingerboard, the fret will actually spring up. And if it's too flat, you press it in, or the fret ends will stick up.
Right.
So I have to hand bend each fret to match the radius at that spot.
At that spot,
So
because
if
it's
it's a
different for
12-inch
each one.
radius here and a 14-inch radius here, it's going to vary from a 12 to somewhere close to 12 and a half to a 13, a 13 and a half
Right.
to a 14,
Right.
that kind of thing. So you're having to bend each fret. And so when you start planing the fingerboard before you do that, when it's being planed, you're trying to maintain that very same compound radius, but keep the fingerboard straight, because when you're milling this on a machine, it's not going to be perfect. So you're going through and actually hand planing this with a backlight and straight edges to get everything right where it's supposed to be.
That's
Typically, to do this part of it, it's about 2 to 2.5 days just to do that one neck.
That's amazing.
In comparison to the rest of the guitar, it takes a lot longer to do all of the other things.
Right.
But if you go on YouTube and you watch people fret stuff, you'll see that some guys can do it in hour
Right.
and a half, 2 hours, that kind of thing. But the way that we approach it, we're trying to make everything just as smooth and take all away the problems that would normally occur 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Right.
For instance, when I'm doing this, the truss rod is actually in the neutral position. There's no tension on it at all.
Okay.
And so we do a compression fretting so that we're stiffening the neck by the size of the slot that we have with the fret tang.
Right.
So that gives us the full action of the truss rod for years to come to be able to adjust that truss rod.
That's
So
right.
we see a lot of guitars that come in that are brand new and the truss rod's completely maxed out. And there's nothing you can do except pull the frets, plane the fingerboard, and redrive it.
Man, that's major.
Yeah. And so we try to eliminate that kind of thing.
That's great. That's fantastic. Makes a big difference.